Hi, and welcome to the 9th edition of Constituent Mailbag, an irregular video feature in which I attempt to respond to a frequently asked question I've received from a constituent. And today's is a message I received from Howard, and he writes as follows. Please stand up to robocallers and pass the strongest possible version of H.R. 3375, the Stopping Bad Robocalls Act. Anti-robocall technology should be made available free to all Americans as soon as possible to help end these harassing and costly calls. I get a lot of these intrusive calls. What's your position on the bill? Thanks. Well, thank you, Howard, very much for reaching out to us. And after reviewing the bill with my staff, I want you to know I've agreed to co-sponsor the legislation. And let me tell you why. Robocalls are a prevalent and growing issue. Everybody watching this knows that. Last year, you're hearing this number correctly, 47.8 billion robocalls were placed nationwide. That's 17 billion more than were placed just back in 2017. That's more than 1,500 calls a second. And you know these calls. It's people impersonating credit card companies, acting as if they were government agencies, or asking for money up front for high dividends in the future. Most of us, myself included, have received a lot of these calls. But these calls disproportionately target vulnerable people, especially including low-income households and seniors. That makes them especially dangerous. These calls all undermine the public's trust in our phone system. And if we don't fix the problem, it's only going to get worse. As Howard mentioned, the Stopping Bad Robocalls Act requires that robocall blocking technology made available at no extra charge. This bill also requires that telemarketers get consent before making calls, implements a national caller authentication system so consumers can again trust that the number they see on their caller ID is actually the person calling them. It gives the Federal Communications Commission the tools, information, and incentives to go after robocallers that break the law. So in addition to throwing my support behind this bill, I will work with my colleagues to explore other solutions to stem the tide of robocalls and punish scammers and other bad actors. We're 7 months into this session of Congress, and already more than 3,500 bills have been introduced, and that's a lot. But it's always helpful to hear from constituents about which of these bills matter to them. So thank you, Howard, for your question. I personally have been affected by this, just as every one of you has. So, on this subject and others, I encourage all of you, keep reaching out to me and keep making your voice heard. Thanks very much.